Hey, what's up YouTube friends and family? It's Cousin Ryan, and before us here we've got several 3D printed parts that hopefully by the time we're done will amount to a miniature arcade cabinet designed to hold the Nintendo Switch.
Shut up! You don't think Ryan is famous?
Cousin Ryan.
You gotta...
This is a design by mgcat on Thingiverse. I will link this item down in the description. So before I had a Switch, before I had a 3D printer, I was perusing Thingiverse and saw this, and I thought that's pretty cool. When I get a Switch, because I planned on getting a Switch and a 3D printer, I need to print this thing out. So one thought I had before I printed this out, I wanted this for taking with us to our game nights and things. Like we go to our local comic store on Friday nights. Me and my friend Griffin, and his kids come with. When Ryder's home, he'll come with. And I thought this would be a fun way that we could, you know, off to the side while they're playing games, we could play the Switch or vice versa. So this is designed to be glued together. I don't always trust glue, so I'm going to try and help the glue by pre-drilling holes for some screws. So it might not be as aesthetically pleasing, but I'm trying to give it a little extra oomph to hold it together, especially with kids involved in a public setting. So a couple things I kind of stumbled around with first. So here's the sides to the arcade cabinet, and you can see the pegs here where it'll end up being put together. I printed these down flat on the bed, and I think the surface turned out pretty well. You can see the Switch here. I didn't use any supports on this, and it was still able to print the Switch logo that way. One mistake I made was printing the control deck here. I printed it face down to save some time because, you know, originally when you put the file into Cura, it wanted to print it like this. Well, there's going to be a ton of wasted material and time right here to hold this up for the support material. So I flipped it over, and it made this kind of rough, and I got some funky lines in here, and I tried to smooth out the buttons, and PLA melts at a much lower temperature than some plastics, and I ended up melting that button. Painted over it anyway, and I just wasn't thrilled with it. And then, silly me, I thought, why wouldn't I print it on end? And that's what I did here. I used a raft, you know, to give it more adhesion to the bed. Otherwise, it would probably fall over in the process of printing. But it turned out much better. And again, I took a big fat pilot marker, like a wide-tipped Sharpie, basically, and just colored the tops here. And I did the same with the lid to the cabinet and the Nintendo logo. I printed this on end with the raft as well. Now, I had some problems printing this, and I think it was due to a problem with my printer, and not the whole thing, but just the lid, because this was the last piece that I printed. And it turns out I ended up getting a clog, the notorious like separation of the Bowden tube from the hot end extruder. I think the beginning of that problem was when I was printing this, because I got several lines in it, and I printed this twice before I got it semi-usable. You can still see there's a lot of lines in here, but I think it was due to under extrusion. And what was happening, here's part of, you can see these pieces here of the original lid, and they separate. You see that? I mean, in here too, I printed it in a different angle, and it just kind of comes apart. This, I think if I forced it enough, it would still come apart, but this was like an 11-hour print to do this, so I don't want to like wreck it. It's usable right now. But I think it was a problem with my printer and not with this. I turned up the heat for this part, and it seemed to melt the layers together a little bit better. I may or may not go back and do this in the future. I'm still waiting for the parts to fix my printer, at the time of this video anyway. Okay, let's see. Where should we start? I think I'm going to start with... Actually, what I want to start with, because I'm not going to use this control deck. I have not drilled any printed PLA yet, so I would like to pre-drill this piece since it's basically a throwaway. I'm not sure how it's going to react to drilling, but let's find out. And if I was really being a pro about this, I'd probably use a drill press instead of trying to freehand it, but it is what it is. This is how I do things sometimes, so we'll see here how it drills pretty good. It drills really nice. So I feel good about that. Now, there's these support beams that go across between, can you see? Okay, you can still see that. Between here to hold this together. You can see in here, there's little divots or indentations for these to fit. And there is a little bit of flashing on the edge of these, so they don't quite fit perfectly into that hole. So I'm just going to take some sanding cloth and kind of soften those edges a little bit so it'll fit into that square. Carefully, you don't want to melt the plastic here. I think that should, yeah, that fits in there much better doing that. And I'm not sure how well the screws are gonna hold this all together, but I feel like it'll at least be enough to give the glue a solid chance of holding together. And I noticed the one indentation is in the middle of the Switch logo here, so that one little dot, I think I'm going to drill that out and use that as my pilot point, because then I can just put the screw in. And if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, I'd run down to the hardware store and get a little bit nicer screws, but I've got these little round head silver, you know, stainless steel Phillips screws, and that's what I'm going to use right now. So let's go ahead. I just want to see. Oh, that's off to the side a little bit. I take that back. Now that I hold it up to the light and look through, I'm not going to use that hole because it's offset from where that beam sets in. So we are going to go right next to it though. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it and hopefully not screw this up too much. Okay. And let's see where it fits in. So that's right about there. Okay, and I think, whoop, where did my little screw go? I got a whole bag of them over here. There we go. Should fit together pretty well. Where is, I'm gonna just hand screw this in because sometimes the drill can be a little OP. I'm going to drop the glue in there right now too before we get it too tight. Hang on, I always forget this stuff likes to be shaken up before you use it. Just going to run a bead of glue in there. Tighten this down. So I already see I did goof a little bit. The head of that screw is going to overlap the line of the Switch logo, but it'll just have to, we'll just have to deal with it anyway. Not tightening these down too much because I think it can stress the plastic a little bit. Okay, that part's done now, and then this will fit in here just like that. And I think what I'm going to do is screw here, 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 and here. And what I'm gonna do is just set it on top like that. By the way, this white piece here is blue glow-in-the-dark PLA because I have got a ton of it. So we'll put a screw in glue these pieces down here. Actually, I'm going to put some glue around here as well. Screw the top down here also. I was almost going to just say forget it, but I'm going to screw it down. I think this drill bit's getting dull if it's having trouble even going through plastic, but I'm not pushing too hard either. Whoops. That, the drill bit fell out. Oh well. We are done with that anyway. Put these screws in. Not gonna lie, I'm having second thoughts about not just using the drill to tighten these down, but my hand's getting tired already. Okay, one more screw and then I think we're done. We'll put the switch screen in here. Now if you decide to do this and screw it together yourself, just be aware that there will be sharp screw heads in here, or get smaller screws or whatever. You could even grind the tips of those off, I guess. So, okay, let's see, this fits on there. Oh, I don't like that though. See that? How it's not, Can we pull? No, that doesn't quite pull that side together. What I think I'm gonna end up doing is I'll print another one of these bars out and put back here and screw that together to pull it in to tighten that up. I think that will be what needs to happen to make this work totally perfectly. Time out. That was a terrible idea. Not a terrible idea, but there's no need to print another piece to hold this together. What I ended up doing, PLA melts and will deform at a much lower temperature than typical plastic. So what I did is I wrapped this with rubber bands and stuck it out in the sun for a while. And that pretty much did the trick. I could probably use a little more forming, but you can see there, that pretty much resolved it and it's squared up. So now that we've resolved that, let's install the switch. So here's my switch. Got Mario Brothers going. Got to pull the controllers off. And I'll show you guys. There's these little guides here. All you do is slide it on in and then put the top cover on, and there you go. Look at that, your own little mini Nintendo Switch arcade cabinet. That's pretty cool. I'm thrilled with it. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. I'm probably gonna just leave this on my nightstand like this. This will be my where I hold the screen. Let's see, can we get this thing going here? Anyway, we're not going to play it right now. But there you go. There's the Nintendo cabinet, or excuse me, Nintendo Switch cabinet on Thingiverse, designed by mgcat. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Thanks for hanging out and putting this together with me, and we'll see you in the next video.
You know, sir, it's cousin Ryan on the Hollywood Boulevard. You know, sir, he bigger than any superstar. All of us spit you some real dope bar. Some them sweeter than any chocolate bar. Boom! Hey.